Mel Tucker did a great job of doing damage control last year, and with what Michigan State was going through, it was going to be a tough year regardless of who was running the show. And I think he did a really good job of keeping things under control, keeping things calm, and trying to get this program headed in a new direction. Will they compete for a Big East title anytime soon? I don't see it, but I think that he can bring the talent in to get to that point. So we'll see what happens. There are guys on this roster right now that can play in the NFL. I just don't know if they have the depth or the quantity of that talent that they need to get to that point. Number 10 is Peytonthorne. He's going to compete with Anthony Russo, the Temple transfer, but it sounds like Thorne is the guy that has the lead and is expected to be the starter when the 2021 season comes around. A guy he's going to throw to is Rickey White. Averaged 22.3 yards per catch last year in a shortened season. That's some explosive potential that's really exciting to see. Michigan State fans will be, once they can get back into the stadium, they'll be able to watch that unfold, watch that on the field. So that'll be fun for the passing attack to utilize. And a guy like Thorne can get used to throwing to a guy that's going to make plays like that. Number 8 is Kaliyah Greer. This used to be a Michigan State team that their defense was one of the best in all of college football. And while they've taken a step or two back from that, there are guys like Gervin that are on this team. We'll talk about another guy in the secondary that's going to play on Sundays in the future that can bring them back to that level. Now, I don't know if they get back to it this year, but it's definitely a direction that they can head to. When they were under Mark D'Antonio, it was tough to move the ball against Michigan State. That obviously has changed since then, but it'll be interesting to see if they can get back to that stingy level that they once played at. Number 7 is Jaden Reed, the Western Michigan transfer. He has 12 or 1,200 yards and 11 touchdowns in his career. Another guy that Peytonthorne's going to love utilizing and finding downfield. Number 6, a guy who's going to have to block for Peytonthorne, A.J. Arcuri. Michigan State's offensive line for the longest time had one or two studs, and then everybody else was just solid. Like you couldn't beat them really anywhere. And last year that wasn't really the case. Our Curry and a guy we'll talk about maybe a little bit later can bring them back to that. It's going to be interesting because running the ball last year, which used to be the identity of this offense, kind of went away. And with a new quarterback coming into play, they're going to need a running game to at least settle him down. Even if Peytonthorne becomes a really good quarterback, it's going to be a joint effort from everybody to be able to run the ball and also pass the ball. Number 5 is Noah Harvey, linebacker, who's really, how do I put it? He had 54 tackles last year and 5 for loss. Linebacker was a position on defense that was elite, and it's tough to see Michigan State kind of regress in that area. Now, Noah Harvey, there's a lot of positions that can get them back to where they need to go. It's just a matter of can they put it all together, and Noah Harvey and the linebackers can do that and bring Michigan State at least to competitive defensively. Maybe not elite like they used to be, but at least competitive would be nice. Number 4, the guy I mentioned earlier, Xavier Henderson. Now, I probably should put him higher on this list, but I'm trying not to let my bias get in the way. In 2019, he had 83 tackles, 2 picks, and 5 passes defended. He shortened the season, kind of just threw everything off, but Henderson can play on Sundays. He's going to have a future in the NFL. And it'll be exciting to see what he can do now that there's a full season in 2021. Number 3, for an offense that didn't really move the ball that much, Jaylen Taylor comes in here, and he was the leading receiver for them, or I should say, the leading receiver returning with 515 yards, averaged nearly 20 yards per catch with 4 touchdowns last year. If this offense doesn't move the ball through the air, I don't know what they're going to do because running the ball wasn't really an option. So that's why there's so many receivers listed here. But I think that passing attack should be just fine. Peytonthorne seems to be, from what I've watched, pretty adequate for what they try to do. It just might look a little bit different when they move the ball down the field through the air versus on the ground. Number 2, guard Kevin Jarvis. You talk about versatility. He has 32 games playing both tackles in the right guard position. You need a guy to provide depth by just adding one. Jarvis is the guy to do that. You add one player and you get depth at 3 positions. So even if this group isn't elite, they'll at least have depth at each position that he can play, and that helps other guys move around if they need to as well. Number 1, this might not be the most popular pick, but Wake Forest transfer Kenneth Walker III. In his career, he has over almost 1,200 yards and 17 touchdowns. I'm not sure why he picked a team that didn't run the ball very well last year, but maybe he thinks he can revive it. I think he should have stayed at Wake Forest, but you know what? Everybody makes their own journey, and if it works out for them, then great. I'll be happy for him. Michigan State is a team that is going to maybe surprise some people this year just because everybody probably thinks that they're down a little bit. Mel Tucker can turn things around. At least that's what fans think and hope he can do. It might not be a team that's going to compete for a conference championship, but it's also a team that has expectations been lowered over the past couple years for various reasons. So really, it seems like the only way they can go from here is up.